Hi, I'm Dan John, and what I'm going to be doing for you in the next little bit is putting together a series of workshops here online that represent what I teach when I do hands-on workshops. And I'm excited to do this. I can't give you the hands-on experience, but I can do my best to give you the information that you need, and perhaps one day in some city somewhere we can get together and go through the hands-on. So I want to begin with what I consider the most important thing I teach in workshops. And it's a phrase from Polynesia: sitting on a whale fishing for minnows. Sitting on a whale fishing for minnows. When I work with people in the fitness industry, the number one complaint I have about a lot of people is that they're sitting on whales fishing for minnows. When I teach the shorter kettlebell cert, there's three movements: the two-handed swing, the goblet squat, and the Turkish get-up. Frankly, in the world of kettlebells, those are the whales. If you learn how to swing, and you learn how to do a goblet squat, and you can understand the difference in the hip movement between the two, and you learn how to do a Turkish get-up, you know now almost the entire world of kettlebells. That's the whale. Those are the whales. If you raise your hand and you start to argue with him about and trust me, with the world of the internet, there's all kinds of those silly things. I get worried because I think you're missing the big picture. You're missing the point. And it's my job to keep you on track to search for the whales, not the minnows. I hope you enjoy this series. Let's get started. Before we get started on anything with hands-on or anything, I want to talk about a term that's very important to me. And the term is fit, F-I-T. The word fit comes from the Old Nordic to knit. And the best way really to use the word fit is the way we use it with a jigsaw puzzle. And that is, the pieces fit together. So for me, instead of calling it the fitness industry, I'd like to call it the knitness industry, because it's my job to ensure that your training, your nutrition, makes you better in what I call the 4 F's. I have to be careful. Fitness, finance, food, and friendships. There's other F's, of course, we could use. But I want you to be a person that is well-rounded socially, emotionally, intellectually, mentally, all the Lees you can think of. And one of my knocks on the fitness industry is that we get in this idea that if you're not puking in a bucket and you're not starving, that somehow you're not keeping up. And folks, that's crazy. That's crazy talk. And so in this series of these small fireside chats that prepare us for the hands-on work, I want to remind you about these certain truths. That we're always going to talk about the whole person. Body, mind, soul, and spirit, however you want to say it, the whole person. How you are in your family life, how you are in your social life, and the legacy you'll leave on this great planet. One important concept when it comes to kettlebells, I first figured out a long time ago, over a decade ago, when I was helping my good friend Josh help his then girlfriend do kettlebell swings. She said that kettlebell swings hurt your back, and of course I love this line. When someone tells me their squats hurt their knees, I ask them to squat, and I always say, well, squatting doesn't hurt your knees. Whatever the hell you're doing hurts your knees. Well, she was she was swinging wrong, but I couldn't put my hand on it. And then we went inside, I went to the board, and I said, well, and I drew a line and a circle. And then I said, a hinge is maximum hip bend. And then I said, it's weird, a squat is maximum hip bend. And then it hit me that the hips in both the squatting movement and the hinging movement do the same thing. That's why they're so powerful. But in the squat, you have maximal hip bend. And in the swing, in the hinge, you have minimal or appropriate knee bend. They both have max hip bend. The squat has maximal knee, and the hinge has minimal knee. Now, okay, folks, let me just get to the point. Rosebud was the sled. Luke is Darth Vader's son. And in the book, Skippy dies, okay? The whole point of doing the kettlebell swing is, as I was quoted many years ago saying, it's a fat-burning athlete builder. And what I want you to learn is the most basic thing I'm about to show you. It's the kettlebell swing, ideally done correctly. I love this exercise. If in that strange world you can only do one exercise, I might pick the swing. It's that good. It's that important. There's two parts to it. One is the hinge. The other is the plank. Hinge, plank. Hinge, plank. You have to learn both sides of the hinge and the plank to master the swing. You can't do one or the other. You have to do both. The most common error I see online is a lack of a plank, number one, and number two, a squatty hinge. Those are big problems. We have to deal with those. The Bulgarian goat bag swing. I was doing a workshop and somebody told me that a certain place on the internet that shall not be named had stolen one of my inventions and claimed it as their own. So I decided to have even stupider names for everything I do. On this exercise, hold the kettlebell by the horns in a curl grip and put the load into your ab wall. When you're doing hinges, you want tight abs, tight abs. This makes you happy. And the exercise is this, up. If you are working with elite people who are older than 22, I suggest just doing the Bulgarian goat bag swing and never adding anything to it. Yes, of course, if you get them when they're 13 and 14, do it. But that is what most elite athletes and collision occupation people need. They don't need a ballistic anymore. They need the correct movement with some load. Teaching the vertical plank can be done many ways. It's really simple if you can just start with the push-up position plank. Heels together, knees together, hands squeezing the ground, and teach the person total body tension. That position there is the top of the swing. That's great. We have to regress some people off that. And that's why I like bands, because bands can be used to pull down and get the person to feel that plank. Now, as I'm pulling down, my lats engage, my ab wall engages, my glutes engage. I'm in a very safe position right now. Now, as good as that is, in addition, I often have people do the sideways style, where you pull out like this. And yeah, it makes one side work harder, but it also teaches that total body tension. That's the key to safety in the swing. When I do certs, this has become one of my favorite stations in teaching the hinge and swing family that include the clean and snatch. The reason I like this so much is this is the drill that experienced kettlebell people go, okay. It's called the magic drill. There's three things we're going to do here. First, Carrie is on her toes elevated, not very much, right? Number two, she has a glute boot just above her knees and she's pushing them out. And the third thing, she has the bell in the Bulgarian goat bag position. So I don't have to coach several things. First, we've taken her ankle flexibility out of it, so she's going to have minimal knee bend no matter what we do. Two, by pushing the knees apart, she's going to feel a different kind of butt movement. And number three, by having the bell on her ab wall, she's going to be engaging her abs. So, would you begin the drill? Go ahead. You know, when in doubt, do the magic drill. If you did 500 of these a day with a heavy weight, you wouldn't have to worry about a lot of things. I would worry about constipation because it is going to rip those hammies apart. Can you feel the hamstring stretch?
Yes.
Push those knees out harder. The only thing you really need to do as a coach is to remind them to push the knees apart. And stop. Maybe on my tombstone, it will say, inventor of the goblet squat. I was working with a whole bunch of young men, a lot of them, and you can never turn your back on 65 14-year-old boys at once, because when you turn around, there'll be murder and mayhem. So I used to be able to teach the squat with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people at once. And then all of a sudden I had to teach big groups. It was at that time, in a moment of frustration, it occurred to me that the best way to teach the squat was to have skin-on-skin contact between the elbow and the knee. And that brought us to the goblet squat. And that's all this exercise is, folks. Pushing the knees out with the elbow. And as you sit here, you can do some curls, you can do some other things. But this is the position. This is what squatting is. Naturally, I'm sliding my body between my legs, not on my legs. And when you stand up, you learn how to squat.